Information, inspiration, motivation, conscientisation et surtout distraction. Gardez tout, votre pot pourri avec Flore. Gardez tout qui produit Radio TV que entendez et gardez l'indifférent network.
I'm your surgeon, Dr. Roman Joseph.
This show is brought to you by Jeff Hess, attorney at law, 305-255-2797. Ça, c'est avocat PAM. Jeff Hess, spécialisé dans accident machine. Ou glisser ou tomber dans la rue, dans maquette, avocat pour les cougner là, c'est Jeff Hess, 305-255-2797. Jeff también habla español, 305-255-2797. Allo avocat et Jeff, ma pralerie les cougner là, 305-255-2797.
Si l'histoire la vie ou appliquée à obésité, nous t'arrêtons Edo écrit un nouveau chapitre. Un chapitre qui remplit avec santé et puis bien-être. Nous-mêmes, dans Jackson Health System, avec l'équipe bariatrique là, nous sommes spécialisés dans l'opération perdre poids pour diminuer le risque diabète et maladie tension. Alors, changez l'histoire la vie. Relais 305 585 TRIM pour une consultation gratis ou visitez jacksoncanhelp.org pour enregistrer un séminaire gratis.
I'm Dr. Flore Lindor-Latortue. I'm a professional business consultant and a radio host. Our services range from advertising, marketing, hosting, and event planning. Call me right now, 786-521-7321. Nous vous offrons des services en français, en anglais, en espagnol et en créole. Relez-moi dans 786-521-7321. Votre mariage, des activités sociales, débats, commentaires, ça c'est nous. 786-521-7321.
Bonjour, bonsoir. Bienvenue à une nouvelle sortie de Radio TV avec Dr. Flore. Radio TV, c'est radio et télévision combinées ensemble dans le sud Floride. Nous faisons radio et télévision pour inspirer, radio et télévision pour motiver, radio et télévision pour conscientiser et nous dire que la vie n'est pas toute sérieuse, il faut qu'on soit capable d'éteindre. Today, it gives me great pleasure to bring back again on Radio TV with Dr. Flore for a wrap-up of legislative update in the state of Florida with the one and only Dr. Nancy Lawther. Good morning. The weather is not at its best yet in Florida because, you know, it's always dark, sunny, dark, but we get used to it. Dr. Lawther, how are you? Happy summer.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back, and we will bring our umbrellas where necessary and turn them into parasols after.
You are correct. Let's jump into our topic and review in at least 5 areas the Florida legislation that is over for 2020, 2021, at least part of 21, because they will start again in September. What a fiasco. Yes, I can say it. It's a fiasco we've never seen. We did not dance tango at all. What happened?
Well,
in education, that's the first area, the area of interest for us. The second area is gun violence. And the third area will be the voter suppression. This is amazing. Then at least I think we can, the fourth topic, maybe we can put it within education, the civic engagement, how do they understand it, and what happened there. Okay, let's start with education. What did you do, what law, who did what we did for education? Yeah, who endorsed that we elected, I know Alison Tent did something in education. Kudos for her because governor signed it as it relates to children with disability. Okay, then I know State Rep Woodson presented, did a proposition that is not into bill as it relates to higher education. Then you are there, update me. Who did what?
okay. Well, basically, pretty much with respect to education, anything that the governor wanted passed. And that includes the enormous expansion of the scholarship programs, what some call the voucher programs. There was indeed a streamline of these programs. Instead of 5, basically we will now have 3. But in essence, it was an attempt to expand these programs as well, because for the Family Empowerment Scholarship, which is now expanded to include scholarships for students who have certain special needs, the income level was raised for those seeking these particular scholarships from about $80,000 per household per year to close to $100,000. If you look at the impact in Miami-Dade County, where the median household income is around $60,000, that was pre-pandemic. That means in the median household, if there were children in the K through 12 range, all of those families would be eligible for the Family Empowerment Scholarship. And unfortunately,
for people, I know what it is, you know what it is, but for people tuning in now, what does that program provide? What does that scholarship, Family Empowerment Scholarship, provides to a family making 60? And now you said that they extended the bracket to 80,000. What does that scholarship offer?
Actually, the bracket was extended from 80,000 to 100,000 family income. And basically what that meant is that for parents or caregivers with a child they would like to place in a private school, as opposed to their local school, a magnet school, a charter school, even any of the public schools. If the parents prefer a private school that accepts money from the state, and there are certain criteria for the private school to be eligible, then the parents can receive on behalf of the school. The money must go to the school, the equivalent amount of what would be spent on the child in a public school setting, whether that is a district school or a charter school. So there are any number of schools that are private within Miami-Dade County that do accept scholarship monies. There are several other scholarships as well, but this is the one that expanded the most, so I think is the most significant. And therefore, if the parent were to choose to enroll their child in that school, and that child was accepted as an enrollee, the cost up to a certain amount of tuition would be provided by the state in the form of this scholarship.
Generally, because this show mainly targets minorities in Miami-Dade, like the Hispanics, the Haitians, and the Black Americans and less fortunate area. I feel that this program mainly that I know of it, it's selected by people based on their faith, parent who may choose that their kids wants to go to a specific faith-based private school. I have seen that in some churches in the Haitian community. We have St. James, I don't want to name one and forget others, and Little Havanas. They have those faith-based private schools. I think it's good for parents to have choices. And I think that I understand the purpose of it, but I'm often concerned with money being taken from the public school as an advocate of public schools. So do you. And here my two kids, all from the time they did A, which is, I'm a passionate of preschooler, they've been with Miami-Dade County Public School. Now, Philip just graduated from Robert Morgan. And, you know, then it's like, I'm a Catholic. It's like I will take money away from Robert Morgan, who was a difficult school at first, and now he's an A school. Then just take it because I'm a Catholic to have it in my Catholic school in District 7.
So
that is a deep reflection.
It is true that a majority of the private schools that parents choose are faith-based. And there is a concern that this therefore removes money from public schools. But there is a secondary concern, and that is that there is not the same financial oversight nor academic oversight for the private schools. Anyone who has a child enrolled in a traditional public school or a charter school knows that students take the FSA, the end of course exams. That is required.
Yes.
That is not required of these private schools.
Yes.
And therefore, a parent trying to make a real fact-based choice does not have a basis of comparison.
No.
Because the private schools are required to administer an exam, a national exam, but that national exam is not comparable to the exams that public school, whether district or charter, take.
And this is why we bring those kind of educational reflection to our community and we make it media driven. It's because you as a parent, you don't have time to know what's going on in Tallahassee. Then if you're very engaged in your children's life, you need to be aware of those kind of activities when you are electing, making choices to elect your leaders. Then I think that's a very, very good point, Dr. Lawther. That's a good reflection. I'm gonna go briefly and say it in Creole and Spanish. Je dis à moi que Dr. Lawther qui expliquait que Une préoccupation qui passe dans la loi la ça, c'est que tout ça gouverneur te vle dans les affaires éducation le passé. Par exemple, scholarship qui peut aider enrichir programme pour tout le monde qui veut aller à l'école privée, à dire que nous-mêmes Haïti, nous connaissons de vle l'école mais l'école KP, nous capables de faire dire depuis ces bagages ça yo, li mette l'argent pour yo. Mais en même temps tout c'est retirer l'argent dans le système public là. C'est sur ça nous sommes réfléchis là. Y a la comunidad latina estamos haciendo una reflexión profunda sobre la sección que pasó en Tallahassee a nivel de educación, todo lo que quiso el gobernador a nivel de educación salió entre 2020 y 2021. Extensiones en el programa, la beca para las familias que quieren escoger, para que los niños vayan en las escuelas privadas. Y eso generalmente son padres que quieren poner sus hijos en un ambiente religioso, entonces hay más dinero. Pero también eso afecta a las familias que los niños están en el sistema público. Dr. Lawther, what other thing of success the governor was able to, about the bonus, the teacher's bonus that faced $1,000?
Yes, and there are rumors yet to be substantiated that those checks will be coming directly from the governor to teachers, and that his signature or that of the state of Florida will appear on the checks. Let us remember that the source of that money that is coming in the form of bonuses is actually through the federal support that has been offered to the state of Florida through the CARES Act, through a subsequent allocation that was signed by then President Trump, and most recently the American Recovery Plan signed by President Biden. So thanks.
It's very important that when the teachers receive that $1,000, that they are clear enough of the sources. First, it's federal money. It's not the governor preparing re-election in 2022 that has done it. It's from the CARE Act, federal money that means Washington started with President Trump, and we have to say the truth at all times. And American Recovery voted mainly by Democrats. Not one Republican voted for that American Recovery Fund, where I think we received $1,600 through like a emergency fund through COVID. Then please, that money is still part of the big package for educators. Okay, yes, Dr. Lawther. Mm-hmm.
And something that was not specifically on the program of the governor, but did pass thanks to the efforts of Representative Allison Tant, who is up in the northern part of Florida, but also Senator Tadeo, who is in our Miami-Dade County. Mm-hmm. There are now 2 new measures. One would ban the use of what is called seclusion and restraint. And these are tactics that are not being used in Miami-Dade County, but were present in other parts of Florida and affected primarily students with special need. Mm-hmm. So the restraint now is the use of restraint is restricted, and the use of seclusion as well. And then there is a second bill that has not received as much publicity through Senator Tadeo locally, and also through Representative Tant, which is to provide for those students with special needs a guide as they are exiting high school, perhaps without a diploma, because they were not, thanks to their special needs, able to obtain a regular diploma, but a guide for them and for their parents as far as what the opportunities are for next steps.
Yes.
What opportunities exist for employment, for residency.
Vocational choices, what
Absolutely.
we really fought for, which is apprenticeship, because not everybody is set to really graduate high school and have a diploma. But that do not make them necessarily a failure in life, but they do fit in a different category. And we applaud publicly that effort of Senator Tadeo, Alison Tent, and for working on behalf of our children. But what is powerful is that they can bring it back. They can bring it back and fall, hopefully. But generally, it's once the governor, if it's not in his mind, or if he does not get to understand the need, and I know he follows us, then hopefully we need to tell him and that it is required also with the word disability. It's the special needs of these kids, should not limit them to really blend into a normal society. And it's love, education, it's love. And looking at the guideline and giving it a chance is also love. And I hope the message get into your ears, Mr. Governor. Yeah. And
yes, and indeed the governor has signed both of those bills with respect to seclusion and restraint, and with respect to offering more information for parents and for students with special needs as far as what the opportunities that await them after high school.
C'est ça. Then, pour nous mêmes parents haïtiens, yon l'autre loi qui était très important, pour ti moun qui gagne n'importe qui disability. Avait dit que ti moun qui gagne n'importe qui handicap, eh bien handicap là, ti moun peut-être capable pas graduer dans high school, dans l'école supérieure Anissa, mais ti moun fait partie de société. Eh bien, ça veut dire que sénateur Tadeo et puis sénateur Tent qui l'ont up north, eh bien, ils ont été proposé pour capable gagner loi ça qui permettent que gagnons une liste ou ressources pour parents yo capable connaître que eh bien si ti moun n'a pas gain diplôme high school là, mais qui l'autre option que gagner li gagne l'école vocationnelle, li gagne on bagay li ka apprendre un métier li ka apprendre. Eh bien tout yo kon séparer ti moun sa yo qui handicap mettez au long chambre spéciale, etc. Den nous pas vle ça. C'est genre de bill ça yo que yo te proposé, et bien que nous t'a souhaité que si yo retourne avec en septembre que gouverneur ka signé. These are very important reflection as it relates to education. We went over the bonus. We went over our children with special needs because we said that primarily. And but civic engagement. What happened with that topic? I think it is so broad, and also let's get to the point. When would we finally revise what our children are learning about history in general, and when would people do not confuse civic engagement and history? Anyway, I'm gonna give a gift to the state of Florida. I'm writing a children manual on civic engagement, and hopefully it will be ready within a year, then that they can decide to pick from it, because I was fortunate enough to really study civic engagement in school in Haiti, Dr. Lawther. And the first sentence, it's who I am, you know. Unfortunately, regardless all negative promotion with Haiti, it's that we will learn at early age, 5 years old, dans l'éducation instruction civique en Haïti, de dire que, to say, I am Haitian. You know, then we need to, the first thing, whether you become a citizen, it's to say, I am an American, and really understand what American means. I'm gonna go and try from what I got from my roots to share it, not only from a skin tone perspective, but from a global perspective. Because, you know, and Dr. Lawther, what happened there? What happened there?
Well, there are two ways to change policy at the state level. One is, of course, legislative, and something happened with respect to civic education on the legislative front, but also something is happening right now, and that is that the standards are being changed in civic education, and the State Board of Education will be voting on whether to accept the new standards or not, which is going to be a meeting on July 14th. And for anybody who is French, of course, that is La Fête Nationale. But in the US, it's simply another day.
Oui.
So,
Prise de la Bastille.
Exact. So what has happened on the legislative front? Two things, one of which I spoke out in favor of in Tallahassee, which is to allow high school students to pick an issue to explore of their interest, and for a special designation on their academic record, to follow that issue, to discuss it from many different perspectives, and to therefore present that issue as a topic that they have researched, that they have investigated, and therefore that they can, if they so choose, act. So I consider that extremely important. Students, in many instances, are already doing this. We have many students who are interested in environmental concerns, for example. And so they are investigating issues, they are acting on the issues in a volunteer capacity, and they are even pushing for additional legislation. I was at a school board meeting last night. There were a number of students present at the Miami-Dade County School Board. They had previously championed an environmental initiative to reduce the carbon footprint of the district. And they were there last night to thank the district for making this part of their action plan for the future, and also for having held the very first meeting to address this question. So
I need to also acknowledge board member Santos that is also supporting this issue and initiative. But I know we bringing it from a legislative perspective, but I feel that the environmental campaign or issues should start from the beginning. Issues should start in preschool. Civic engagement should start, you know, if it's humanity, if it's sociology, you're telling the kids, if it's environment, if it's values, then these issues should be taught. Then we need, in that dialogue, then I would like for you to really advocate that issues should be brought at the roots, you know, because research, you know, the questioning, the discussion, that's what makes civic education, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because,
And
if
then
you're waiting for high school for that to happen, yes, it's okay. Ninth graders, they get, anyway, it's better than nothing, because at least they're preparing themselves for college and they have to do the inquiry and the experiment. But the ability to question at early age should be taught in that civic education at from preschool.
right.
You know, the manners, like, you know, I'm American, then I have a sense of tolerance when it comes to diversity. I am American, that I'm not the only that type of skin tone, then I'm also valuable than my little friend right here and my neighbor. Teach them a sense of loving their neighbors. And anyway, I think I'm
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
not gonna give up in putting this at in preschool.
Well, actually, the new civics curriculum that will be considered on July 14th by the State Board of Education runs from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Okay.
Florida was already better than many states in its 7th grade concentration on civics.
Yes.
Anyone who has a child in the public schools knows that 7th grade is devoted completely to civics.
Yes.
This curriculum that will be voted on July 14th runs from kindergarten through 12th grade, with the bulk of concentration in 7th grade, as before.
Mm-hmm.
With the idea of really beginning as of kindergarten and continuing all through high school to reinforce what is being taught. Now, the question
you know why it's important for us to make those points, Dr. Lawther. With the passing of George Floyd, then that's how civic education was brought back into the area and the arena. But we don't want it to be like a propaganda that every time that someone die, then that it is a topic, you know. Then we want to benefit from that sadness, and yes, justice was rendered, but we want to make sure that it's not police brutality that bring back civic engagement. We want it to be a norm in the education system where children also knows the part of the issues, that policing is one of it. Then drafting like A to Z issue, because there are many, and there are so many that at least there could be a consensus when there is any amendment, because July 14, that's gonna be voted on, but it needs to be revised on a yearly basis. They need a committee of inclusion that can look at that civic education curriculum and polish it, tweak it, to really make it welcoming to all, because Florida is really a state of diversity. And
yes.
For you, and that civic curriculum, and that's why I will write a little manual and share it with the Department of Education. There is nowhere that Haiti is mentioned in it. And Haiti is the first republic. It's that, and also help the US in so many fights. It does not have to be a May 18 propaganda of Flag Day. Haiti is not a Flag Day topic. Haiti is a global history of the end of slavery, and look how long it took for us to acknowledge Juneteenth. And we are in June having that discussion. Then this needs to be brought up clearly to the Department of Education.
Absolutely. And the standards have been very controversial. We are now on version 3 that will be voted on. The first, I commented on, there was a forum where you could submit comments online, and it was, I'm going to be very harsh in my terms, the first set of standards was an abomination. It really cut out so much of the influences on civics that are important for our students to understand.
Yes.
The second version was a bit better, but a number of commentators noted that nowhere in those standards, from kindergarten through grade 12, was the word slavery ever mentioned.
Yes, and after that comment, look, Juneteenth happened, then, you know, we don't need to wash and changing policies. A policy can be adopted, but always with room to amend it, because that's how, anyway, that's the essence of civics.
Yes.
It's the ongoing transformation of human being. That's what civics is.
The Board of Education at its June meeting took a further step apart from the standards by amending a rule saying not specifically what should be taught, but what must not be taught. And this is equally controversial. There is now a state board rule that one may not, in Florida's classrooms, teach critical race theory or the 1619 project. And those are both named specifically.
And you know, critical theory is also critical thinking. It's like you limiting any child to really make a statement, to really open their mouth and express themselves. And is that amendment too when it's the freedom of speech?
That is the big question, and that is where the challenges will come. Because what happens if a child in class brings up this 1619 project specifically? It is not currently being taught in Florida, but a child could certainly do research and bring up the 1619 project.
No, they're gonna tell him, listen, don't, we cannot answer your question. Wait for you to be 19, okay? Wait for you to be 19. And this is what we're telling our children. Okay, teacher, Lawther, I need a glass. I need a glass of thinking, okay? No. That glass, you cannot have it. You have to wait to be 19. And this is where mental health comes. This is where there is an association of when we exclude certain topic in anybody's life to really, you know, fire mental issues.
Yes. Then the question is this simply cosmetic? Is this to make a big stir? Is this to get voters potentially all upset and therefore to score points with them? Because this material was not part of the curriculum. It was not part of the standards. So is this simply to make a fuss, to set off some fireworks and to get all of us running around and concerned and afraid and so forth? But the real question will be, does this put a muzzle on teachers as far as what they are able to talk about in the classroom? Will teachers, as they are trying to teach their students the fullest degree of knowledge possible, will they be thinking twice and thinking, oh, I can't say that?
Yes, yes. Anyway, that's an exclamation. Then we are thinking about it. We don't close doors with radio, TV, with Dr. Flore, and that's the beauty of it, where inclusion is key. And inclusion is not a one-way street. Inclusion is not just saying, let me speak your language. Inclusion is not only making me happy and have one line that says Haiti. No. Inclusion is that receptivity of talking. Keep on talking until we respectfully agree to disagree, but agree for the greater good. That's what inclusion is.
And this actually leads into another topic. One of the most controversial bills that passed this legislative session was House Bill 1. The question of public protest, yes, which we are guaranteed under the First Amendment. But it was highly debated.
No, but it was a slap in the face of anybody who called themselves citizen. Protest is not necessarily brutality, but closing the doors to protest will not stop brutality, because see our gun violence skyrise right after. Every day in a neighborhood, a child is being killed. Then who's taking responsibility for those unhuman decisions? For those kind of legislations that are so partisan driven?
And unfortunately, gun rights were actually expanded this year to the extent that it used to be forbidden to carry a firearm on the grounds of a religious institution if a school was likewise located there. And now that exception has been removed, and whether there is a school or not, someone may carry a weapon onto the grounds of a religious institution that has a school.
Life. Yes. Then here's our two negative things that happened this year. HB1, we have no right to protest. Okay. Then expansion of gun rights. That means children can bring arms to the schools, getting it from their parents, and making everybody's life at risk. We still did not learn from Stoneman Douglas. We still did not learn. And we did not learn.
I'm going to emphasize one positive that came at the very end of session and was bipartisan. It is a small step, but we must prepare to take smaller steps before the larger ones. Yes. And that was a bipartisan bill to change the training for police officers and correctional officers, those who staff prisons, yes, with respect to the use of violence.
Yes.
So that was a first step. It came almost in the last week of the legislative session, but it was bipartisan, and I consider it some consolation for the horror of House Bill 1 and this attempt to very publicly suppress the idea of public demonstration. At least in this bill, there is an acknowledgement that police and correctional officers need better training and alternatives to brutality.
We're gonna clap for every time that we hear bipartisan. And bipartisan not only in word, but in the results.
Yes.
Yesterday, I followed the school board meeting. I always followed. I cannot stop following. The topic of mask mandate for fall. Then you want to say some, you want to tell people what was the demand first? Is it to keep it going? And some people were opposing. Where are we?
No, the district believes that in the fall, there will be a mask optional policy.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the district has a panel of medical experts
Mm-hmm.
who are very much in tune with what the CDC recommends,
Mm-hmm.
the National Centers for Disease Control.
Yes.
I think any school board that now, in the month of June, develops a policy for the end of August that is set in concrete is foolish. We do not know.
And we so not know. Is it in Manatee that an employee got affected by COVID and the entire department, they all got it? And okay, luckily, I will say, because being vaccinated does not take away that you're not gonna get infected. Luckily, someone who was vaccinated still did not get infected out of his entire team. Then it's to let you know that also fall brings back flu. And also there are so many new trends of the virus. Then not knowing is the right approach for nobody to be assuming the know-it-all, the projection. Yes, before as educator, we can say we project to remain a school. We project for us to for our teachers to really get more bonuses. But we can't go this route, you know, because the circumstances, because of the pandemic, they are still uncertain.
Absolutely.
Then are we with the optional mask policy with the district, or with all those speakers who wanted to keep it mask mandate? And I think even UTD, what was there a time? No time. What happened finally?
There were many speakers who were suggesting that masks be optional, and they did not want to have their children masked. They thought that the school district would be repressive to require masks. And at the end of the discussion, the superintendent reiterated that they are looking toward the possibility of exactly what those parents were asking,
Yes.
namely a mask optional policy. And with respect to required vaccinations, a mandatory vaccination, that is a state level decision. And even so, even with the currently required vaccinations, there is an opportunity for parents who have an objection to opt out. So it is never a 100% mandate with respect to vaccination.
Your credit to the district there, it was never imposed. And even with the vaccines, they slowly making it Pfizer available to the children starting 12 years old. Yesterday, they had it available, no, on Tuesday, and South Miami Middle. Then parents, it's your choice for what you need to do with your children. but it's also what it's called compromise. You know, at one point, we all been in that same basket together. Then there's no need to have your gloves on, and but you have to keep on watching the news, get informed, follow our show, follow Dr. Lawther. In September, I'll be here, but she will be in Tallahassee, but we are together. And by next year, you will hear from me with that civic education manual. Dr. Lawther, look, even though the weather was making our internet system unstable, we still gave love in education. I love you so much. You need to be part of that conversation tonight. I sent you the link about racial superiority because you're one of the commentators. My hat to you as always for your wisdom first and your love to our public education system.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to appear again, and I very much applaud your efforts to educate the community on issues that are important to it. So this is wonderful.
À bientôt.
My pleasure.
À bientôt.
À bientôt.
Nous toutes sortes fait un an chita et nous connaissons chita pa bay. C'est ça fait Ozana College of Health a invité ou pour prendre clé succès ou clé la vie ou vle vi nou PN ou du moins 1 degré ou vle gagner l'an BSN 6151 Miramar Parkway l'an 3e étage là Ozana College of Health attend nous toutes ou di autant de publicité ça l'an émission ça ou ap jwenn yon rabais pour inscription. Pas perdre du temps, chita pa bay. Relais 954 544 30 65. M'en répéter. 954 544 30 65. Ozana College of Health, the key to succeed.
Médicare, écris numéro ça pour pas oublier. 754-214-2345. 754-214-2345. Alors, tous les amis de la communauté qui ont Médicare, ces amis nous et Ernst Louis-Jacques. M'a dit nous, est capable d'aider nous pour un plan santé dans Medicare Advantage. M'a connecté à une grande compagnie qui couvre tout le pays et qui a bail service dans les affaires santé depuis plus de 50 ans. Là, on a Medicare, on a un bon ami qui a compté sur lui. Relève jeudi à même 754-214-2345. 754-214-2345.